Welcome to StartupHakk. I'm Spencer Thomason, and here at StartupHakk, we love to train software developers and build custom software solutions. I do a lot of work as a fractional CTO with over a decade of executive leadership experience and a solid 25 years in software development. I've mastered the art of transforming technology, teams, and products. So today, we're going to talk about the rising office vacancy rate and why I think it is happening, and I think it's happening because I think the RTO is failing. So recent reports indicate that office vacancy rates have reached record highs. Now, with cities like San Francisco experiencing unprecedented levels of vacant offices. So this trend is largely driven by employees' reluctance to return to the office. So that's a topic we're going to dig into today. All right, so I want to dig into these topics here a little bit, and I'm going to dive into a little bit about why I think we're seeing some of these rising office vacancy rates, and then we're going to dive in and look at some of these graphs and charts and stuff and kind of talk about this a little bit. So first off, let's talk about the rising office vacancy rates. So I mentioned before that San Francisco is experiencing an unprecedented level. I'm seeing this everywhere. So I live in Phoenix area, and our downtown Phoenix area is nothing like it used to be. The trend is, I think, is largely being driven by employees who just don't want to come back to the office. And I think it's also being driven by some levels of executives, not all, but some level of executives who have figured out that it's actually more efficient to work from home. So many companies are finding it increasingly difficult to justify the cost of maintaining these huge, large office spaces. The high vacancy rates highlight a significant shift in workplace preference that cannot be ignored. And I have agreed with this entirely. So study after study has showed that employee satisfaction is higher with remote work. So they consistently show that employees much prefer and that their satisfaction is a lot higher for those who work from home. So remote work offers flexibility, reduced commuting stress, and a better work-life balance. I think I have powdered sugar on my shirt because I was just out there eating some Muddy Buddies my daughter made. But, that's case in point, right? And so I think that I love that work-life balance. I've always liked being able to have my kids be able to come in and visit with me if they need to. My kids learned and figured out pretty quick that if the office door was open, it means come on in. If office door is closed, then it probably better be kind of important for me to get in. And if the office door is locked, it means like do not enter something. I'm in here on an important meeting or something. So, but recently Dell tried to do a really rigid RTO policy, and it led to a noticeable exodus of skilled developers. And so flexibility in work location is becoming a key competitive advantage in the tech industry. Now, there's a lot of failed RTO mandates out there in major companies. Numerous different companies have faced a lot of backlash and failure with their return to office mandates. Employees are pushing back, and in many cases, these mandates are being rolled back or abandoned. The insistence on returning to the office is proving to be a costly mistake for executives and businesses that are trying to maintain their pre-pandemic operations. The resistance is a clear sign that the traditional office needs to evolve, and I agree. If we haven't learned from the pandemic that we can work remotely, then I think we're just trying to stick to old ways. Now, I get that in some scenarios, Elon just insists that people at Tesla and SpaceX be at the office. They are building things, right? If you're building things, sometimes a lot of that can be hard to do from home. But I think where we're talking about 90% of the jobs, the need to be on-site, hands-on is very low. And I think we're seeing the data that will support that. So let's jump over and take a look at some of these actually, and look at some of these metrics here. So I'm going to blow this up a little bit. So we can see that the U.S. office vacancy rate, right? We can see that it took a huge nosedive right through the turn, and then we saw it go down. And we see this. So this is vacancy, right? So we're kind of an inverse graph here, right? So we saw that there was a lot of people, huge return to the office, right? So this going down means the vacancy means the offices were full. But now we see this vacancy has just really hit COVID era. And we've seen that from there, the vacancies have just started to rise to an all-time high. So it's now breaking over 20% vacancy rates. This is the highest commercial vacancy rate that we've seen, for a long time. And so, again, this author is actually coming up with the same thing. They're saying it's because people want to work at home, right? And so there's not many more binding contracts than a commercial lease. Those things are written in blood and they will come after you. I was kind of poking around a little bit too, and these are some that, the return to office mandates are dead. And this one is talking a lot about Dell and how Dell's, the revolution at Dell, and said, they said to their return to all, Dell said to return to the office or else, and nearly half of the workers chose or else. So when they actually brought in the mandate, they tried to kind of push people to come back to the office. And then when they finally said, hey, look, you have to come to the office or else you're going to lose the job, 50% of the workforce opted to accept the consequences of staying remote, which I thought was kind of interesting. And I think it was like demote me, all that kind of stuff. So I think that, we're seeing a lot of people really, starting to want to show that working from home does work. And, and particularly in software development. I remember one time when I was working with GoDaddy, the department that I was working for wanted me in the office, but then I was the only one in the group that actually lived in Arizona. The rest of the group lived in back east. And the director of the department was like, no, I still need you to come to the office. What if you have to talk to one of the other groups or something? And I'm like, all right. So I went in for the first week, and then I was like, this is really dumb. Like, I'm going to the office every single day to sit and get on remote meetings with my team that's halfway across the country. And then I just stopped, and I started working from home, and nobody noticed. And after a few months, I got a message from the director, and he said, so I just got to notice that, like, your cube moved. And so it was kind of funny because I finally just told him, look, I've been working from home. And he agreed that at that point it didn't make sense. This one is, CNBC, and even they're saying that even the AI boom can't stop the real estate slide as, office vacancies reach new records. And so I think everybody's looking at the same report that we're seeing here, and 20% is, it means 1 out of every 5 offices are vacant. That's crazy. It's really high. And so partly, commercial real estate's gone up a bunch too, and I don't think that's helping anything. But, San Francisco's seeing this hurt just as much as anybody. So, so I think the future of work is remote. I think it's what's staring us in the face, and the data seems to suggest that. It seems that remote work is not just a temporary trend, but a permanent shift. Companies that embrace remote work are likely to see higher employee retention, satisfaction, and productivity. The future of work is flexible, and businesses must adapt to stay competitive. As we move forward, the focus should be on creating hybrid models that cater to a diverse work preference. So I started my first remote job in 2006, and I actually took that job over another job because it offered 2 days a week work from home. So technically it was hybrid, actually, by today's standards. And I really loved it. I found I loved working from home. And so I've worked about at least half of my career from home. So I was actually in one of the few office jobs that I had accepted, and I just started a team working for a company, and we were about 4 months in, and COVID hit. And as soon as we moved the team fully remote, right, as the whole country did, and we were doing full Scrum, we had a Scrum coach on the staff and everything. So we were measuring and monitoring every single metric. And after we had done that, we moved everybody home because the whole world did, and our velocity jumped by almost 40%. Now, it was undeniable that in case we were more productive at home, and especially during COVID with everything going on with COVID, than the team had ever been before. So I always have, and I always will prefer to have my teams be remote. So by analyzing the rise of office vacancy rate, the enhanced satisfaction of remote workers, and the shift of developers to contract work, it's clear that traditional office model is facing significant challenges. Failed RTO mandates in major companies and evident future of flexible work models further underscore this transition. So, as someone who has over 25 years of experience in software development and a decade in executive leadership experience, I've seen firsthand how adaptability can drive success in technology teams and products. Let's continue to this conversation and explore how we can shape this together. So what are your thoughts? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think Elon's right? This is actually one of the few things I really disagree with Elon on, and I get it. He's building cars, building spaceships, but even for X, which I think a lot could be done remote, he insists on in the office. So I agree. There's a lot of stuff I agree with Elon on. This is one I'm adamant against. What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I really enjoy having a great conversation. Best compliment you can give me is leave a comment down in the comments below. Here at StartupHakk, we love to train software developers in our coding boot camps, and well as build custom software solutions for folks. So reach out. We'd love to help, and hit the links down below. And otherwise, we will catch you guys next time. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel because we bring you lots of great tutorials and tips that every developer should know. See you next time.